Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Daily Revelations. So today I was in both 15 and John 18, and it is both of these areas of scripture focus on the final day of Jesus's life here on earth, and up until his crucifixion and through that. And something I've read many times, but as I was reading through it, God was stirring my heart to look at the different people in that story. And as I did that, I went through my Bible reading the first time, marked off the people. And then as I was going through my notes, the things that I wrote down that I really felt led to write down was what caused the reactions of every person in that story and what led up to Jesus' crucifixion. And I want to read those to you because it's very telling of how our natural reaction is to react instead of to be purposeful in what we do. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So because of envy, the Pharisees and the scribes handed Jesus over to Pilate. And Pilate, because he wanted to please everybody and didn't want anybody to be angry with him, he appeased the crowd and sent Jesus off to be flogged and crucified. Because of their hatred for the Jews, the soldiers mocked Jesus. And because of their closed-mindedness, their fad-following group mentality, superficial, blinded, closed eyes, the people didn't see they were pawns in this whole thing. They just went along, crucify him, crucify him. Now, we're going to go back in that story a little bit because in John is the previous part to that. And Judas is handing over Jesus because of his greed. He wants the money, and he only sees the money. That's all he ever saw, and Jesus knew that. Then there's Peter, who cuts off the ear of the high priest's servant. Why does he do that? Well, it has to do with pride, something Peter struggles with greatly. He wants things to go according to his plan, not God's plan. And so he intervenes, and pride leads his reaction. And later on, as Peter denies Jesus 3 times, we see that fear of being in the same situation as Jesus and possibly being crucified himself causes him to deny Jesus. But we see 2 different types of reactions, not led by giving in to sin, instead giving in to love. And this is where it hinges, and God tells us we flip. So there's those people, the women who were standing at the cross, who were held there to watch Jesus die and be crucified because of their love for him. And then there was Jesus, who willingly gave himself over, allowed himself to be mocked and crucified because of his love for us and his obedience to the Father. So here we have these 2 different things. We react because of sin. And I wrote in my other notes, sin's path is basically a fall. It's a literal fall into what we naturally as our sinful selves will do. And we follow our urges and just kind of tip into it. That's why it's so easy, because you don't really have to make any effort towards it. It's just something you just kind of fall into. On the other hand, when you choose to live by truth, you have to keep your ears open and you have to listen to where God says he is taking you. And then you have to rise up above your reaction and follow the path of truth. So how do we do that? Well, Pilate asked Jesus, what is truth? And Jesus previously had told his disciples, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes to the Father except through me. Truth is a who. It's not a what. And we have to know that who. And so, I wrote the scripture. The Lord is near to all who call on him and to all who call on him in truth. And that is from Psalm 145:18. We have to call on God. When we hit those situations where we feel like reacting, we need to be so close to God that we turn to him and say, what's our response? I want to rise up above this. I don't want to fall into it. And there is where the pinnacle choice happens. The closer we become to God, the closer that we come to knowing him, we hear his voice. And this is from John 18. Jesus says, everyone who is of the truth hears my voice. We don't have to worry about that. God will tell us what to do, but we have to turn to him and say, what do we do? Because on our own, our reaction is just to tip over and fall into whatever Satan's trap is that he has for us. And it is so, so tempting and so easy to do. But the more we live in communion with God, hearing his voice, following him, the more apt we are to stop ourselves and say, okay, God, what is my reaction to this? My godly path to truth versus my tipping over and falling into the lie that I believe will bring me to the end result that I want. It never does. It is truly a lie. So we need to seek God and to rise up. And I wrote this as I was finishing praying this morning and prepping my computer. The verse that came to me from something that Paul wrote was, I beat myself into submission. And truly, this is a training ground of God saying, will you follow me, instead of these urges to react to the world the way that Satan wants you to, and to give in to his plan. Follow my plan, but you have to work at it. And you have to listen carefully and train your ears to hear me and seek truth. Seek Jesus. He is truth. So thanks for joining me on Daily Revelations, everyone. And I will see you again next time. Bye, everybody.